Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. So today we're going to talk about the 5 elements, which is a very um, related topic to this festival, but not just to this festival, but to many others as well, because more and more people are using this background of the 5 elements, or 4. And that is because the 5 elements are spread everywhere as a knowledge, as ancient knowledge, even modern knowledge, but we will come to that. So today, according to this festival, it's Air Day, which is a nice coincidence because my name is Marin Vayu, and both of those two names means wind. And that is also my strongest element. Probably you all have a strongest element, which we're gonna talk today. Not everybody, but most of the people. But first I want to tell you a little bit about this. Do you know what is this? Do you like it? Yeah? So this is a calendar that is based on the 5 elements, which I will talk about and present tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And this is why I came actually here to this festival to present this calendar in the first place. Let's say that this today topic, it's of the wisdom of the 5 elements. It's an introduction to tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a really special talk. It will be a premiere, my own premiere. For the first time publicly I will present this calendar, and also tell many things about our calendar, because I was studying this topic, of course, the Gregorian calendar, the one that we use today. I will tell you many things that you probably don't know. I will tell you also a few things that nobody knows. Very interesting things about the history of this calendar and why it is like this as it is, why it's not in sync with nature, why it's not relevant for the whole world, why we should change actually. So I hope tomorrow we will change the calendar. You never know, some of you might be king in the future king. President of the world. So I present this calendar as the calendar of Atlantis. And I have a strong arguments that I will talk about tomorrow, why this calendar can really be from Atlantis. Whether Atlantis existed or not, I need to be careful when I talk about Atlantis in public. I am a fan of this concept, of this theory, and I'm actually going around the world to all these sites that are connected to ancient, let's say, mysteries that are linked to Atlantis, according to many. So I'm exploring this, I'm searching for this lost civilization. What I am sure about is that if Atlantis existed, then definitely they had knowledge of the 5 elements. Because we can find this knowledge of the 5 elements embedded in every tradition in the world. Not just that people from different tradition, different knowledge, not just that they talk about the elements, not just they mention it, they based their knowledge, traditional knowledge, on this 5 elements concept. So before I will talk about the wisdom of this and how we can balance it and mastering, the topic is to master the 5 elements. I will tell you a little bit of some facts about the 5 elements that people usually don't know because they don't do research. Everyone heard about it from some tradition. But when I start to research, I realize how much I didn't know. For example, I knew that Chinese based all their traditional knowledge on this concept of the 5 elements, even though they have 2 elements, different names. They have fire, water, earth. This is 3 elements that everybody use. But then they have metal and wood instead of air and space. So just Chinese have these 2 different names. The rest of the world use air or wind and space or spirit. But even though they use different names, the characteristics of those elements are very similar, I would say even the same, because I believe it's come from one source. Many researchers believe that everybody from different traditions come to this concept of the 5 elements in ancient time because they were observing nature, they connect with nature, so they all came with the same, let's say, similar knowledge. Why did they come to this conclusion? Because if you study every tradition, you will see that they are not 100% in alignment with each other. Sometimes they are even contradict. One tradition says one thing, another tradition says another thing. But I don't believe that this is actually the case. I don't believe that this is possible, that everybody came to this concept of the 5 elements, even though for us it sounds very obvious. Yes, you just observe nature. But let's put kids in nature without any influence, without ever tell them about the elements, and then when they grow up, then we tell them, now come up with some theory about what is this, what are the elements of nature. I think nobody will come with the 5 elements concept. Some will come with 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, 6, 7, 10. Many different things they will start to observe and use many different things. Because actually we have this evidence. In Chinese tradition, we have very ancient, maybe the most ancient knowledge from China. It's called I Ching. And I Ching use 8 elements. And then we know that after, when the 5 elements theory came to China, probably from the West, from India, then they implement the 5 elements into the 8 elements because they saw that it's almost matching. They just had, 2 elements for 1 element. Like earth and the mountains, it's the same element. Or ocean and river, it's the same element, right? So, very similar we have in India a proof that not everybody comes with 5 elements concept. There is a knowledge, very ancient knowledge called Ayurveda. Everybody heard about it. Ayurveda has 3 elements, not 5. But when this culture merged with another culture that brought the 5 elements concept, they realized they're talking about the same things. The characteristics are the same. So, of course, the knowledge merged, and now Ayurveda, it's studied, it's based on the 5 elements. Now Ayurveda put the 3 doshas, categorized 3 doshas, into 5 elements, or the other way around. 5 elements into 3 elements. It's not easy to do that, huh? So we have proofs that people came with different concepts. But eventually, they all end up with accepting the 5 elements because once you hear it, once somebody tells you about it, it just makes sense. It's nature. And it's everywhere. Those 5 elements, fire, water, air, and earth, and the space, it's everywhere. So it is very relatable. And also because, look at our body. It has 5 corners, 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 hand. It's very beautiful. A very nice coincidence. On each of those corners, we have again symbol number 5, 5 fingers, 5 senses. And with those five senses, we are actually perceiving the nature around us, the five elements around us. And mostly, through one sense, we perceive more one element than the others. Just an example, fire is perceived mostly with vision, with eyes. Why? Because fire gives light. Everything that we see is thanks to light. And the source of light is fire. So when people start to realize how this is beautifully, it's like nature gave us a manual, and like how to live life, how to balance life. It gave us manual. Just look at nature, but you need to figure it out. And some people did. Mystics did. Of course, they are not agree on everything. Then later, once they accept this wisdom, integrate in their own teachings, of course, thousands of years of this teaching that was passed on, there were gaps. And then people filled those gaps with their own insights, with their own observations, with new conclusions, with their own feelings, with their own intuition, with their own channelizing. And that's why we have these different concepts, even though they are very similar around the world. So let me tell you a little bit about those facts, because I found them very interesting. I was very surprised. So except China, that like this I Ching that I mentioned, they have Chinese medicine that it's based on the five elements. They have Tai Chi, Qigong, everything, every knowledge, traditional knowledge is based on the five elements. And you come to China, you know, everybody knows this. Then there is India, if we're going from the east to the west. India is the same. All the traditional knowledge in India is based on the five elements. They also have a medicine that is based on the five elements. Like Chinese have traditional medicine. The same medicine we find in India, it's called Ayurveda. It's based on the five elements. They have acupuncture here, they have acupressure. But same, they have these points. What that means is based on, it means that every organ, because we are talking about medicine, we are talking about body, every organ belongs to one element according to them. Then there is Vastu. Maybe it's not so popular, this name Vastu. This is an Indian knowledge of space, energy in the space. For example, the ancient builders, this was their main knowledge, how to build temples, houses, and today even how to decor a house. It's more popular Feng Shui or Feng Shui from China, but I'm quite sure that the Chinese version comes from Indian. And then they have, so that Vastu is also based on the five elements. There are four directions. Each direction belongs to one element. And the fifth one, it's above and below. And in Vastu, it's also, they put it in the northeast, the space, the element of space. And then in India, we have also astrology, which is called Jyotish, which astrology is also based on the concept of the four elements. Actually five, but one element was lost a little bit, but now it's coming back. More and more astrologers are using it because we have, 12 zodiac signs. Each sign has the characteristics of one element. But we also have planets, 5 planets visible with the naked eye. Imagine this synchronicity. 5 planets visible with the naked eye. Of course, they said those are gods of elements. Because in the beginning, when people discovered those elements of nature, they perceived them as gods, gods of nature. Perhaps they were afraid of them because they can show power, destroy villages, even life, floods, water have floods, tsunamis, fire wildfires, earth create earthquakes, air, strong winds. And the fifth element, which is everything, it's a storm. Because the storm contains sometimes everything. The thunder, like a fire, water, if it's raining, strong winds, and dust. So these were the gods of nature. And yes, when they discovered that there are 5 stars, because they thought those gods must live somewhere in the sky, because there's so many strange things happen. Actually, there's the sun and the moon there, which are gods of time, which we talk about tomorrow. But then those 5 planets. And this is how astrology was developed. They dedicate each, because how a planet can have a characteristic, why it's Mars, a warrior. How? Who gave these characteristics to the planet? There's just one dot, shiny dot in the sky. It doesn't show any characteristics, except it's a little bit reddish sometimes. And that's enough to assign the characteristics of the fire element. Saturn, for example, it's the slowest, but they learn the movements of the planets. So, which element is the slowest? The earth. So they gave characteristics of the earth. And in every esoteric teachings, they gave characteristics to the things of the 5 elements, characteristics of the 5 elements to things. They're just something that reminds them, crystals, colors, anything. So in yoga, except Vastu, Ayurveda, and astrology, we have also numerology. Also numbers. Numbers have characteristics. Which one? Believe it or not, the elements. I was 20 years back almost professional numerologist, and I didn't know this. I learned the characteristics of numbers. I never asked myself, who gave those characteristics to those numbers? It makes sense when you learn and then you search for evidence, then it makes sense. But without that you learn before which number represents which element, then it's not so obvious. So then what we have? Yoga. Yoga, it's also based on the 5 elements. Except that there are chakras. So yoga is always using the system of chakras. And chakras are the energetic centers of the elements of nature. Same things like numerology. When I learn about chakras, I learn what they represent. And I was thinking, I remember this 25 years ago, I was thinking, how do people figure out this, each characteristics, each these energetic centers? But when I discovered the 5 elements, it all makes a lot of sense. There are 5 elements plus 2 other chakras, which in ancient time represent the moon and the sun. But today, we, like 5 planets plus the moon and the sun. But today we are thinking like 7 chakras are, established in ancient time. No, this is a new actually version. Not so far in the past. In the past there were many different concepts of chakras. You can learn, you can study this. 4 system, 5, 7, 8, 25. But the chakras are energetic centers of what? Those are like energy, like batteries in the body of the elements of nature. Because the elements of in nature, those are energy, the source of energy. And we perceive those energy through our 5 senses. And then we store this energy. Because every energy, if you have a device, it needs to have a source. And then it needs to have a battery. And this is how people figure out that humans also have some battery. They collect energy and they store it into the energetic centers. This, I went to India one time just for one purpose, to find the most knowledgeable yogi or guru, and so that he can confirm this. And he did. The one in Rishikesh. It's a long story. It's just that sometimes people don't use these elements language anymore. They use chakras. Why? Because you see how now everything is starting again to elements, you know. And then people don't want to use this word anymore. So they start to use different words. But in yoga we also have 5 doshas. And 5 doshas are also based on the 5 elements. So let's say the chakra system also is used by Buddhism. So in all the way, Buddhism came all the way to Japan. So in Japan they all also base their knowledge on the 5 elements. What is also interesting is that ancient people built temples dedicated to the 5 elements, because those 5 elements were gods of nature. So this is why the Buddhist temple, it has the shape of Buddhist stupa, which represent the 5 elements. This is why Hindus build many Hindus temples, not everyone, but many are built with 5 towers. Like the biggest Hindu temple in the world, it's called Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Because the first gods were the gods of the 5 elements. In India, they a little bit forgot about this. But if you learn, they talk about Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, which is 3 gods, main gods. But if you read the ancient books, then you will see that the first gods who are mentioned in those books, Rig Veda, are the gods of the elements of nature. And the same we have in Egypt. In Egypt there were many gods. Probably you heard about Osiris, Isis, Set, Nubis, right? Very related to this festival, the Egyptian mythology. So what people don't know is that these gods, Osiris, Set, Nubis, most of the people don't know this, that they were not gods. They became gods. They were kings and queens. They were people who established civilization, and then, you know, heroes become gods. Because you can read in the 4,000 years old, it's come from Heliopolis, the Ennead, they select the 9 most important gods, because they have a lot of gods, like in India, thousands of gods, same in Egypt. So they select 9 of them, which will be the main gods. 4 of them, semi-gods, that I mentioned, and 5 of them, pure, real gods. Ra, Shu, Tefnut, Geb, and Nut. And these are the 5 elements. But there are not stories about them, because, you know, this is nature. They didn't make much stories about it. So people forgot about it. If there is no story, people forgot about these gods. And then in Egypt, we have the main, let's say, esoteric teaching. It's called alchemy. We know that it's come from Egypt, mostly because of the name, Al-Chem. Chem, it's in the ancient name of Egypt. And alchemy is based on the 5 elements. And some people sometimes says alchemy it's just 4 elements. Yes, in most of the books they're only talking about the 4 elements, but if you read the most famous alchemists through the history, they all mention, they don't talk much about it, the 5th element. Why? Because they were keeping a secret. They were using this element, as they explain, when they created gold, because it's a space, the 5th element, the quintessence. So alchemy is also based on the 5 elements. Then we have ancient Greece. If you read who were the oldest Greek philosophers, they call them philosophers, but these were people of knowledge, scientists, philosophers, mystics. The most ancient that it's written, of course, thanks to Aristotle who wrote it down. If you open Wikipedia and you read about them, the first things that you will read about Thales, Anaximander, Anaximenes, that first thing that you will read is that they were talking about the elements. They were trying to figure out which is the primordial element, the first element. One says it's fire, one says water, one says air. Of course, everybody needs to be different from the teacher. But then comes Empédocle, a few hundred years later, and he said 4 of them are equally based. And this teaching was passed on to Plato and Aristotle, and then Aristotle introduced the 5th element, but this was not his idea. Even Anaximander was talking about it. And because of mythology, we know that this is very ancient. The concept of the 5 elements is even more ancient than Atlantis, if Atlantis existed. So when it came to Aristotle, then what happened is that one of his disciples conquered almost the whole world. You know who I'm talking about? Alexander the Great. And he spread the teachings all the way to India and Egypt. But they already had those knowledge. So this is how knowledge is merging, it's meeting its own roots. But this is thanks to Aristotle. We on the West knows about it through alchemy and through Aristotle and astrology. Even the church had the concept of the 5 elements for a long time. Even I found a book where it's written. It's called Gospel of the Essenes. Even Jesus was teaching about the 5 elements. And now some people will say, it's not possible. Why not? If everybody was teaching about the 5. We know for sure that Essenes, the Jewish group who was living there, these were like mystics, Jewish mystics who lived a little bit outside in nature, create their own communities. They teach about the 5 elements. And they were very connected with the sun and the moon, and they use a calendar of the sun, which was not allowed in that time in the Jewish community. But this is topic for tomorrow. So, and then what happened? When Christianity, I go more west to America, and of course native Indians, they also have this system of the 5 elements. Mostly they use in rituals, like also paganism in Europe. When they create rituals or when they mostly they pointing the elements to the space, to the directions. The same like Vastu or Feng Shui. Who else? Everybody. So when Christianity wanted to separate Jesus from the paganism, they didn't want anymore that people worship nature, other gods, so they banned all the gods except Jesus, right? This happened in the 4th century when the emperor, first the what is his name? Constantine, he took Christianity as, he as an emperor allowed Christianity to be legal, and then Theodosius after him, not immediately but a few decades after him, the Emperor Theodosius says, okay, we are not just accept Christianity. They were all already on Christian, let's say, beliefs, but he banned all others. And this is the first time in history something like that happened. They were huge. The Roman Empire was huge. All Egypt lost. If you go now in Egypt, in the temples, they don't do any ritual anymore. Why? If you go to India, they do it. In every temple in India, they still do it like 5,000 years ago. In India, in Egypt, no. Why? Because Theodosius says, no more. There was a holy fire in Rome as the main temple that holds the eternal fire. In every city in ancient time there was a main temple which held the eternal fire. The Roman, 1,000 years this fire was burning, and Theodosius says, over. Of course there are good things that happen, but as well we lost a lot of nice things, I would say. Who? Vikings. Yes. Exactly, because all the Europe, it's this paganism, no? Yes, it's all about the 5 elements. It's all about nature. So, what is this? I can also say about what scientists, when scientists come on the stage, then they said there are no 5 elements. Why? Because they observe under microscope, they realize that there is some smaller substance. Because the elements means literally the smallest substance. So they found, for example, that water has atoms, oxygen, hydrogen, right? So they said, no, there are not 5 elements, there are 100 and more elements. They slowly discovered them. But it's interesting that they categorize them into 3, 4, and then I would even add the 5th, the 5 groups. They call it state of matter. So they categorize them in the groups, state of matter, solid, liquid, gas, plasma. These are identical to the 5 elements, to the ancient 5 elements. And today, the modern scientists also are starting to believe again into the space, the 5th element. There is a big debate about the space for a long time. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. From Aristotle until now, scientists, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Yeah, there is something, no, space is empty. No, space is something, no, space is empty. Right now we are in the moment that, yes, space is not empty, there's something. So if space is not empty, if space is something, that means that everything, the space is everywhere, inside everything. Everything is in the space. The science go even more and says that everything is just one, that everything is in the space is actually just the space, but resonating in different frequencies. Something like that. Surely we'll know more about this.
They have 4 basic forces.
He's a scientist.
But Max Planck, he says something beautiful. All forces and particles are formation of the space.
Yes,
the ether.
exactly. So that everything is one. But mystics saying this forever. Some mystics, that everything is one thing, including space. So maybe we are coming slowly with a conclusion that the five elements are the base of this universe, and maybe people will start more and more look at it. Why is this important? Because there is wisdom in these five elements: knowledge, theory, concept. There is a wisdom. And ancient people developed this wisdom. Because when you observe nature, you see that it is, those elements are behaving very similar like humans. For example, fire can be, let's say, aggressive. Yes? You agree? Fire can be aggressive? No? Yes. When you make a fire, you don't just walk away. You need to pay attention to the fire. Otherwise, it will create disasters. It will change. This is the fire energy to change things. We call it disaster because it changed something that we didn't want. It's just the nature of the fire to change. And we all have this fire. Fire can explode, can become very... You don't touch the fire. Fire says no. Right? The only element is not allowed to touch. So people realize that there are some ancient mystics realize that there are some people who behave like that. They are very aggressive if you touch them. They can explode. They even become red when they get fiery. Somebody is soft like water. Water, it's gentle. You can take it in your hands. It's so gentle. So ancient mystics realize, well, I mean, there are some people who behave like water, very, very gentle people. And they often cry. They have extra water, so it's coming out. We all have water and fire. We all have all the elements. It's just that some people, let's say, feed too much one element and becomes more powerful, more stronger. So the ancient mystic says, okay, what if we balance this energy in our body? Then some people are like air, all the time moving. Yeah? Someone here? All the time. Hard to stay in one place. They like freedom. You cannot catch air, right? And then some people are like earth, very steady. They like to be home. They don't like to move much. So this is just a little, a beginning of the wisdom that ancient people realize. There is something. And more you pay attention to it, more start to be obvious things. And you can use this idea to work on yourself. Maybe somebody says, what if I balance this? What if I have all the elements? What happens when you have all the elements? Because if you have a weak element, what is happening? It is happening that you are missing certain qualities. And every element has certain qualities that you need. Completely different qualities. fire has the quality to fight. Sometimes you need to fight. You need to say no. You know, fire says, no, don't touch me. No, this is my boundaries. Today, many people are talking about boundaries, to set up boundaries. This is fire. Fire has no problem to set up boundaries. Fum. You can imagine fire as a warrior, very strong. Very strong. Water is adaptable, which is a very great characteristics. It can adapt. If you put water in any place, it will take this shape. It will not fight like fire wants to change the environment, the surrounding, whatever you put fire, it wants to change something. If fire comes to this festival, fire says, this is not good, this is not good. This we need to change, this can be better, this fire. We all have this, huh? Some more, some less. Water says, wow, it's beautiful, it's perfect. Completely adapt. Surrender. Water surrender. Surrender to the flow. That's water. In yoga they say, you only need to surrender in the flow. Not always. Because sometimes it will take, if you swim, maybe a river, I don't know, maybe there's a waterfall, dangerous. You cannot surrender to the waters always. In the ocean, if you swim, I come from ocean, sometimes if you just surrender, the current takes you outside. So sometimes you need to use fire. Swim to the shore. You see, fire and water are completely opposite elements. And this is why a life is hard. Because we have those energies and they all want different things. So they fight, inside us they fight. And if one wins, the other one gets very weak. In most cases, it's like this. It's not always. I met people with very strong fire and water, and the opposite. But most of the time, if fire is too strong, then water is weak. If water is strong, then fire is weak. And the same is with air and earth. Because air likes to move, earth likes to stay. Air is associated with thoughts because they are moving very fast. And they like to be free. Right now, your thoughts are concentrated on what I'm talking. But every while, they go somewhere. Right? Your body is here. Yeah? But your mind, maybe you're hungry, what I'm going to eat today, what I'm going to miss, music. Your thoughts are free. This is why also I like to talk slowly and give some space between words sometimes more than others, because in this space I give you a freedom to relax your mind, to think about anything. Like now. So air, it's mind, and earth is doing things. Earth is physical body, but it's doing. Air thinking, earth do. Air has knowledge, ideas, but earth is practical. It do things. Without earth, those ideas stays in the cloud. If you have balance, air and earth, then those ideas can be manifested. why is air also connected with the mind? Because it's moving and it can go far, very far. This is the element that travels very far. Water goes also very far, but not like air. Air can go all around the world and up and down in every direction. It's free. Today go this way, tomorrow that way. Huh? If you are air, then you have problem with consistency. If you have too much air, you do something, and then after a while you want to do something else. Air likes to change direction. Yeah. Earth, you set in motion. It's going this way. It's going slowly, but it's going this way. Or it's staying. Even better to say. So to have this balance means, what that means? Means you can use it whichever element you want. If you need fire in certain situation, if you need to do an action, it requires fire. If you need to relax, it requires water. If it needs concentration, it's air. If it needs to do things with hands, it's earth. So you can choose which one to use if you have balance, if you have all the elements more or less balanced. So that means that they are alive in you. You can use them. If one is weak, you don't use this element. What that means? You are avoiding this. If the earth is weak, then you are avoiding physical work. You don't like to do things physically. If your air is weak, then perhaps you don't even want to travel. You don't want to think. Air is a thinker. If your water is weak, you don't have compassion even. Because water is sensitive. Water has compassion. If you meet fire, then you don't have willpower. Fire is a willpower. Recently, people start to use this word a lot, ego. I don't like it. Traditionally, this word never existed. Because they took certain characteristics of the fire element, which ego is representing, all the negative things of the fire element. But fire is much more. And sometimes in spirituality, this can be confusing. Sometimes there are different concepts of spirituality that are contradictory. But this is all because the elements are contradictory. If you meet a spiritual teacher who is fire, it will always tell you to fight for your goals, to do whatever you want in life. Chase your dreams. Be a warrior. If you meet a spiritual teacher who is more water, it will tell you just love, surrender, accept. That's the way of the water element. If you meet an air teacher, they will teach you with, like I'm doing today, with the mind, to understand. Air element will say the most important thing is to understand how things go. Meditate, enlightenment. That's air. Earth element, if you meet a teacher who is earth element, it will be like a Zen master. Very simple things. Because earth is very simple. It cares about simple things. Just do what you need to do. That's earth element. Once they asked a Zen master what he was doing before enlightenment, and he said, I was mainly cutting wood. And what are you doing now after your alignment? I'm cutting wood. So sometimes spiritual teachers, masters are balanced. And then, if you meet them in person, if they are good, if they have the fifth element very strong, and that means intuition, then they will tell you advice according to what you need, not according to the philosophy of fire, air, water, earth. According to what you need in this moment. If you are lacking one element, they will use the philosophy that you don't like, actually. Maybe, yeah, it's very tricky, yeah? Because how a master convince a student to do something that the student doesn't want to do? Because you don't want to do the things that your weak element likes to do, because it's weak. We think, oh, this is not me. No, I don't want to do that. We associate ourselves with the strongest element, most of the time. And this is why it's hard to create balance in life, because balance requires to do the things that is for your weak element, not your strong element. And when you select a book to read, you will select mostly the one that you don't need, the one that you like. The one that you like will not change your life. It will do something, it will do some beneficial things. Yes, for a short time, but it will not transform your life. It will not balance you. When you meet a teacher, oh, I like this teacher. Go off, search another one. This is why people stayed with teachers traditionally 10 years. Because it requires time. If the teacher immediately give you the things that you need to do, you will go away immediately. So maybe first is cheating you a little bit, giving you things that you like. If it is a good teacher. A good teacher needs to have a connection with the fifth element spirit, and that means intuition. You see, the fifth element spirit doesn't have the opposite element, like fire, water, air, earth. It is the space. Everything is inside. The spirit is inside everything. But the characteristics of the fifth element, the best characteristics, the virtue, is intuition. And intuition can come through thoughts, words, feelings, and deeds. Actually, it can manifest through thoughts, words, feelings, and deeds. It is a very misunderstood thing that intuition is a feeling. Intuition can be a feeling, but it can also be an idea. It can be a movement. You walk on the street, so you suddenly move intuitively. Somewhere you turn around, whatever, you do something. It can be. Words can be intuition. Sometimes you say something without planning it, without intention. So intuition works as a, let's say, an information from the space. I put it here outside, but it can be from inside, because space is everywhere. So this intuition comes from the space, and then we perceive it mostly according to our dominant element. If you are fiery, this intuition mostly will manifest through words. If you are water, this intuition will manifest with feelings. Air, with thoughts, with ideas. Earth, with just doing, without even being aware. With hands, with doing things. But we need to here have understanding of that not every thoughts, words, feelings, and deeds that doesn't come intentionally is coming from intuition. No, very far from this. Most of our thoughts, words, feelings, and deeds are coming from programs from the past. Because our body, our life, learn how to create programs for surviving. This is evolution. You don't have time to think and rationalize about everything. If you go to the forest, you meet an animal, first time, you don't know what is this animal. You never saw it before. Sometimes you need to react quickly to run, to escape, or maybe not to run. So during evolution, mind create these programs according to the past experience. So when you come to a new situation, the subconscious mind, it's working all the time. It's observing what is happening. Not just what is happening, but also smell, sound, everything. And if it is something that reminds the mind of a past experience that was not pleasant, then let's say a feeling, a thought, or something comes, or a movement comes from program, not from intuition. This is a program. You come to a crossroad, for example, no? You have left and right, and you see on the left side there's a forest, and on the right side maybe just desert. So which one you choose? You don't know, your first time, which one you choose, to go left or to go right. Your mind is trying to find similar experience. Yeah? And let's say that you choose to go left, and you just go, and suddenly you are entering the forest, and suddenly you have a bad feeling. Oh, no, something bad here is going to happen. And then you think that this is intuition, but it doesn't need to be. It can be, but it doesn't need to be. It can be that in the past, maybe you were a child, or maybe from past lives, or genetic program, any kind of program. It can be that once you've been in the certain forest, maybe that smell in that way, or maybe a certain trees or something, or a certain sound, and you had a bad experience. And then you have a feeling, no, I'm not going this way. But this is a program. You meet people and say, oh, I don't like this person. You know why? Most of the time it's because this person looks, or it did something, or a voice, or a smell even, or eyes, or color of the hair, or position of the body, or it did something, or it said something that reminds you of a bad experience. Unconsciously. This happened to me once. This happened to me a lot of times, but once was very funny. I was on the beach and I was observing this guy 10 meters there, and I said, I don't like this guy. I didn't know why. So I'm thinking about why. Did he do something? And then I'm observing him, because I'm thinking, is it intuition or is it a past experience? It's a program. So I'm observing this guy, and he was very nice with children, with wife, on the beach, playing, smiling. So why I don't like this guy? Seems all good. So later in the evening, my memory came back from when I was very little. There was one guy in the village of my grandparents, where I used to go often, of course, with my parents. And there was one neighbor, one guy there, was older than me, much older. Very, like, grow-up man. And he always joked with me in a way that he scared me. Like he gonna, throw me from somewhere or pull me somewhere or to the dogs or something. And I was always screaming and crying, and he had fun. I forgot about that. But when I saw the guy who looks exactly like him, I said, I don't like this guy. This happened also the other way around. When we meet someone and says, ooh, I like this guy. I like this woman. Why? Mostly because in the past we had a nice experience with someone that remind us subconsciously of this person. Without that we are aware of it. And if you stay, so for example, I tell you this funny story. I was a teenager and I was dating one girl, and I didn't like her hair. Everything else was great. I love this girl. But her hair, why? Why I didn't like this hair? Probably because in the past, when I was a child, there was someone, a woman, or maybe even on TV, there was a character that I really didn't like because it did some bad things and I had a bad experience. And now I don't like this hairstyle. So what happened? I didn't, of course, I don't remember this. But what happened is that I dated this girl, right, for some time. And after some years that we left, we broke up, after some years, I realized that I start to like this hairstyle. Because when you love someone, when you have a nice feelings, you are reprogramming your subconscious mind. And this is how subconscious mind works all the time. It's reprogramming. But sometimes it's an intuition. And how can you know if it is intuition or if it is a program? You come to this crossroad and you have a feeling or an idea. How do you know that this is not from your past memory? How do you know that it's intuition? That is very hard. I would even say, don't bother with this. What we can do, actually, instead of trying to figure out, what we can do is to do things that the fifth element likes to do. Or let's say like this, that we feed the fifth element. So each element likes certain things. And by doing those things, not just doing it, thinking, so every element likes to think in a certain way, every element likes to talk in a certain way, every element likes to feel in a certain way, and every element likes to do things differently. They all do completely different things. And by doing those things, we are feeding this element, it becomes stronger. So let's take a little, like a bit of each element, an example. What fire likes? Fire likes to be in the center of the attention. If fire is always in the center of the attention. Fire also like to dance. You see how fire is dancing. So by doing something that puts you in the center of attention, you give food to fire. Fire also like to change things, to criticize. With this we need to be careful. Fire likes to lead. Fire is a leader because it's strong. Yes? Biggest leaders in the world have very strong fire. You cannot lead without a fire. It's not possible. If a leader doesn't have a fire, if it is put in that position, it will be for a short time because some other fire person will take over. In the company, in friendships, in the family, in politics, whatever. Because this is how nature works. This is our evolution, how evolution works. A strong person will always take a lead. So leaders are fire. But if the leader doesn't have water, it's not going to be a good leader. Because fire doesn't care about people. It only cares about goal. To reach something. And water doesn't care about goal. It cares about people. It has compassion. So if the leader has balanced fire and water, it's going to be a great leader. So if you talk like a leader, very confidence, with very strong words, this is what fire likes. If you think about the future, fire likes to think about future because there's something to achieve. Fire is very ambitious. Always needs to have a goal, something to achieve. So if you do that, you feed your fire element. Fire likes to feel power. So if you do anything to feel the power, you feed the fire element. Fire likes to, as we say, dance and any action, fire likes actions. Running, go to the gym, sports in general, because there's a competition. Fire likes competitions. It likes to fight. Fire will use anything just to fight, to do something, to change. Water, on the other hand, likes to think about the past. Fire thinks about future, water about past. It likes to talk about relationships. Intimate, but also with other people, like also colleagues, families, relationships. That's water. And feelings. Water will start the sentence, I feel. Water likes to relax, to follow. Fire leads, water follow. Water likes to adapt. Then air element likes to think about, water what likes to do is also take care about people, anything, or clean, about health. Water takes care, because we pour water when we take care of plants or our body. It's cleaning our body. When we take water, it's cleaning from inside. When we take shower, it's cleaning from outside. Water has the energy of cleaning. So water likes to take care, to clean, to maintain. A job for water is to maintain. Very good job. Or in the hospitality, a very good job for water. It likes to do nothing, read book on the beach, fire, we'll go kayaking, whatever, something to do. Swimming. There was a lady who came on our retreat, and she said, Marin, I am 100% fire for what you explained, but I like so much water, I am all the time in the water, all the time, I've had so much connection with water, how come? And the rest, everything is fire, I don't have. Yes, but I saw her, I told her also. When she is in the water, she doesn't float, she's swimming. She asked me, Marin, how much time we have? I said, because we go in nature. I said, 15 minutes. Ah, okay, I will go swim to there and back. She had a goal. Then air element likes to think, likes to analyze, knowledge, discovering, likes to move around, discover new things. Air is very interested in everything. The word for air element is, oh, that's interesting. Air likes to learn and talk about anything. Fire will talk about mostly critics, criticize something, politics, neighbor, partner, whatever. Fire likes that. Air likes to analyze, understand, and talk about anything. Philosophy, religion, science, knowledge in general. Earth likes to think about what needs to be done. Also in the future a little bit. Because Earth cares about basic things, survival, home, family, food, job, very important. Earth will talk about job, earning money, income. It will not talk much. Earth doesn't talk much, like air and fire. Earth, when Earth is talking, it's only what is needed to be said. Very concrete. When air is talking, sometimes you wonder what air wants to say. Earth, pum. Earth likes to feel, I come to feelings, Earth likes to feel peace. So, air likes to feel freedom, air, freedom, feeling, freedom, earth, peace, because it's stable, huh? It's peaceful. Fire, feeling power, water, feeling love. Love, freedom, power, peace. Which one resonates with you the most? It's a good clue to maybe analyze yourself. It's one clue will not tell you about your situation, but if there are many clues that are telling you the same things, then it's obvious. And what Earth likes to do? Earth likes tradition, to do things, what needs to be done. If it goes travel, it goes very short distance for the family reason or business. It needs to have some value in that, not just losing time, because Earth likes to work. My parents, when they had more time, they went walking, hiking in the forest. One year they were hiking every weekend, which is very earthy. My parents are very earthy, especially my dad. And because why Earth likes walking? Because it's very slow. It's very slow. Huh? But it was not enough. Earth, actually, you know, it's a trend to go hike. If you go to the doctor, tell you, go and walk, go hike. Everybody's doing hike. But 50 years ago, nobody was hiking. If I asked my grandfather in the whole village, did you ever, or somebody in the village did ever went for a walk? No, he said no. No, why? Only if we need to do something. Cut wood or bring something to another village. But if Earth goes to do something in nature, it will choose to do hiking instead of, biking, gym, kayaking, whatever, paragliding. Earth needs stable things and slow. So my parents, after 1 year, discovered mushrooms. And then they said, oh, but this is great because now they don't lose time with walking. Now they collect something. And for Earth, this is a big plus. Yes. And you take something for food. Or if you can sell, it's even better for Earth. Earth likes to earn money. And then the spirit, the fifth element spirit, likes to be abstract in the mind and in the body. It likes to think about abstract things, about time, about space, about God, about existence, about connection with the spirits of the tree, forest, the ground, the sky, the spirits of other people. Don't confuse it with water, with compassion, with the spirits, because that is the spirit element. It likes to talk about those things as well. It's very hard to understand what spirit is talking. Sometimes air is hard to understand, but spirit is not possible. If spirit talks only without implementing other elements into that speech, it's going to be just a poetry, another dimension. It likes to feel magic. That's the word for spirit element. It's magic. And what this fifth element likes to do, well, this is very interesting. It likes to do some spiritual things because the fifth element is a spiritual element. Other elements are not spiritual. They have the fifth element inside, but just by element itself, they have different characteristics. The only element that is spiritual is the spirit element. So you need to have this in order to be spiritual, whatever that means. Because spirit element, it's connection. It's the space, it's connecting everything. So what is the deeds, the things that spirit element can do for the food, if you have weak to do something physically. We say you think about abstract things, about art, music, spirit, because it's the fifth element is connected with the hearing. Each element has one more connected to one of the five senses. So the fifth element is hearing. So silence and sound. This is the best to connect with mind, with the spirit. But what spirit likes to do? It likes rituals because they are abstract. And they are doing something as abstract to connect with the spirits. And doesn't matter if it is to connect with your soul or the spirit of the ancestors, or the spirit of the forest, or God if you belong to one religion, or many gods, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's always the same. It's always about the spirit. And the spirit is the eternal life. This great spirit, this space, it's the eternal life. It's the source of life, because fifth element, it's inside everything. So to connect with this fifth element, you connect with the source of life. how you connect? Intentionally. If you want to do something physically, then you can do some rituals. Just the intention. But if you want to do physically, you can do everything dedicated to the spirit element. You can do yoga and says, I do these movements to connect. Yes, but you also do for the earth element and fire. And when you do shavasana, relax, you do for water. And when you do breathing, concentration, you do for air. You do for many elements. Yoga is actually designed in that way to balance the elements. Yeah? Or you do qigong, or you do whichever activities, it's always activating some elements. But if you want to do something exclusively just for the spirit element, that don't do some things that make sense, you need to do abstract things. That is just for the fifth element. Just to connect with this source of life. Yes. Music. So, is there any question?
I forgot what water you associated fire with willpower.
Yes.
Earth with freedom with air.
Air is freedom.
Earth with
Peace.
peace, and water with
Love. If you talk about feelings.
feelings. And you were coming from balancing all four of them out.
Yes.
And you were heading towards saying that spirit or space is kind of the master orchestrating.
We can say that. If you have a good spirit element, you have a good core. But if you have only the spirit element without developing other elements, it's not going to be good. No. You might end up in hospital.
So,
Schizophrenia.
so any one of these five needs all of the remainders to kind of flourish.
Yes, that's balance. Because balance, we know, everybody will agree, balance is the most important thing in life. But what actually means balance? For each one means something different. Why? Because we exaggerate in something different. Or we don't have something. But how to know? Well, the five elements concept, it's a great tool to give you the idea of what balance is.
And if I come to Rovi for like a week, we do practical exercises to kind of
Yeah, depends.
experience the balancing out.
Yes, but we do different programs, no? We did different programs in the past and in the future, always with five elements, but most of the time there is no program in our retreat center. We have in Rovinj, in Croatia. When I say no program, it means no extra program. We have yoga in the morning. There's always some good teacher. Accommodation, we have food, breakfast, we have always. But the other things in the afternoon depends on the program. But this you can go to our website and check and see. For the next year, we still didn't release the program for the next year. Yes. But this year you can still come to the, yes. Yes. My wife knows better. So, yes, so you can find this on the website of the retreat center. I also have another website for the 5 elements course, online course. So if you want to learn this knowledge more deeply, to connect with elements, I suggest, even before coming to our retreat, I suggest this course, 1 month. It's following the calendar, lunar calendar. It's dedication to each element, certain days and weeks. Yeah, you can find there marinvayu.com. It's very easy.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the easiest way to know
Yeah, it's so to understand your situation with elements, your balance, there are a few things that you can do. First is the observation yourself, not thinking about the past right now, but from now on observe yourself because it's different. Your mind will trick you by remembering only the certain things. Yeah. So observation, self-observation, what you think, what you talk, what you feel, and what you do. These four things, because each element is manifesting through these four things, right? So by learning about what I was talking and maybe take the course maybe to go a little bit deeper to really learn to distinguish what are your thoughts right now about, are they air, are they water, are they fire, and to see most of the time which one you use in most situations, right? And then same for the words, feelings, and the things that you do. The other thing you can do is you can ask somebody. Everybody around you knows more about you than you. You ask them what you're exaggerating and what are you missing. Yes. And the third option is to go to some professional. There are so many people, like some people work with chakras, some people work with, even with Vastu or Feng Shui, they come to your house just by this. Some people work with astrology. So there are so many people that work differently, professionals that have experience, they know about the elements, and they can tell you as well. And when you get more clues that are all saying the same thing, then it's obvious. Yeah? But I would say always work on all the elements, give food to all the elements, and that is for sure going to the balance. If you know that you are missing very much one, or if it's one too strong, it creates problems, then you work by not doing what this element stronger likes. You need to avoid those things, this is the hardest thing, or you need to do the things that the weak element, that is for the weak element, yeah? Balance. In this situation, use this one, in that, this one. There's always a little bit of disbalance. We walk and we create always left, right, but with this we create actually a perfect balance, yes? So this also what I didn't have time, many things I didn't have time to say, especially about men, women, sun, moon. These are also the elements. Sun is fire and air affects air. Moon is earth and affects water, and it's many things together. They are spirit. And how is this related? Everything maybe another time. But tomorrow I hope you come for 9 o'clock here in the morning for this. This is not just something for yourself, it's more for the world. I believe we need to change this calendar, the Gregorian calendar. Yes. Thank you very much for coming.